The Strangers, Chapter 1, spoiler discussion for those of you who were unfortunate enough to see this movie. We're here to share in your pain. And hey, you know, some of you might enjoy it. I might have enjoyed it. Good. I'm happy for you. That we're not those people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. Where to begin? So... I think the big takeaway here is that we both didn't like our two characters. Now,
yes, yeah.
The main girl I know from Riverdale. She's pretty beloved from that show, from the boys especially, since they think she's like the hottest thing under the sun in that show. And yeah, she's pretty, but oh my good God. It's the introduction to their relationship that's so off-putting.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is a little bit... So Kaylee hasn't seen any of these, so any little spoilers I give, I don't know. It's not a huge deal, because they kind of change things up a little bit here. So the reverse kind of happens here. So the way the first one begins is it starts very somberly, because Liv Tyler's character has rejected Scott Speedman, I think is his name, his proposal. They're at a wedding. He proposes to her. Yeah. She says no. We don't see any of that happen. We just kind of see them get home. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, this is set in the middle of nowhere, as the other one's like in a residential area. It's kind of a little spread out, but not much, which I actually prefer that, as opposed to like this, you know,
super cliche, like cabin in the woods. Yeah. I like that concept more because, you know, having a couple who now they're at like a weird crossroads of like, I don't want to marry you. That gives tension to their relationship.
Well, there's a lot of really great tension in the first that's built before the killers even show up. Yeah. Because he was very sure of himself. So when they get there, he has the whole place set up for if she said yes.
Oh, see, that's even better.
And that like really adds to it. Like, damn, like it's just they really don't want to be around each other. Yeah. And he's just like done, because it's like, if you don't want to marry me, then it's over. Like, I'm fucking done. Right. I'm out. And so they're not copacetic when the whole thing, and they have to kind of resolve their issues and work together, which in this one they completely flip it, where she's wanting to get married and he's like on the fence, and that's just cliche as it gets, right? Which is what I like about the first one, is it's usually the girl that wants to get married and the guy's, you know, like is like hesitant. Like, that's the cliche, but in the original it's the reverse. It's like the girl's like, I just don't know, and the guy's like, come on, please, kind of shit. Yeah. And I don't know. It just, every single thing that makes the original unique and interesting, and the shot selections and all that. Oh my God, that's something we didn't even talk about.
We didn't talk about.
I hate the shot selection. Yeah, There's so many close-ups of people's faces that feel so awkwardly close and add nothing to the film.
Yeah, in an attempt to make it super tense. Yes. Because usually when you're super close to someone's face, you're like watching their emotion and everything. Yeah, I mean, their relationship, I did not buy at all. We already talked about this in the spoiler free, but like, they have no chemistry. I found them to be like, there's a scene whenever he has the burger and he's like eating it and it's like ketchup all over his fucking face, and he like says something like, why don't you clean it off? And she like goes in. That, I like audibly said ew to that, because it was just like not sexy. And there are times in movies, because just like in real life couples, where you do something that, like, if you weren't attracted to that person, it wouldn't be sexy. You'd be like, this is gross. But when you have like attraction between characters, then it's like endearing and cute and like, aw. But because I didn't buy their relationship, I found that to be a really cringy, like, gross scene, and I didn't like it. And I really hated his performance, which I also already talked about, but I just thought he was so, like, lifeless the entire time. And I feel like they were purely cast based on their looks alone. Like, when the movie started, and plenty of movies, obviously, movie stars tend to be gorgeous and like beautiful people. Like that's not a new thing, but they also felt very unrelatable because of that too. Which I know Liv Tyler is like gorgeous. I don't know her co-star in the original, but
it's the guy from Underworld. I don't know if you ever saw it.
These two just felt very plasticky, model-y, like unrelatable Hollywood types to me. And maybe it's because I already was like hating the film that then I just, I'm getting nitpicky about their looks, which I know they can't help, but just from like enjoyment standpoint, like that also was something that I didn't like. And
you wouldn't care if you were into the film.
Right, if I was into it, but because I wasn't, the whole movie felt very fake. Like, it just felt like a very fake scenario. It felt boring and predictable, and, home invasion movies can be absolutely terrifying. Like, anytime, people are trying to get into your house, like, that's an awful situation to be in. So, it's like they have a scenario that is already scary, and they somehow manage to make it, like, less scary. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they worked against themselves.
They have this opening here that, and I always find this to be very effective. They have that text opening with statistics. And it's like, there's a violent crime, blah, blah, blah. There's like 1 every 22 seconds. There's been like 7 since this movie started, and it's only been on for a couple minutes. And I remember people in the crowd being... like, oh, wow. And I also remember someone in the crowd when the guy gets, like, hit with the axe, which you don't even see behind a tree. Yeah. The guy was like, oh, my God. Like
yeah, that was the one gasp that we heard.
If you fucking think that's hardcore, like, I can't even imagine if this movie actually does anything.
That opening text, though, too, it's like, this is one of the worst of them.
That's what I was getting at. So... it's like, this is one of the most brutal, I think is the word that they used. And it's like, they stab both of them in the stomach and then kick their chair over.
She gets a nail through her hand when they're crawling underneath the house.
Right.
For that you don't see. That's like the injury. But it's supposed to be
the killers.
Yeah.
The brutality of the killers, right? And it's like, now granted... it could get much more brutal in 2 and 3.
Sure.
So there's more story to tell. Yeah. So it might live up to that. But thus far, 2 stabs in the stomach and then kicking their chairs over does not scream to me one of the most brutal crimes in the annals of American history.
We've talked about this before, where when a movie is like the first of a series... it's really hard, or rather, it's easy to try and be like, well, maybe I'll like cut it some slack because like there's more to come. But you've said it where it's like you shouldn't be judging the movie based on like what you even haven't seen yet, or what maybe hasn't even been made yet, or whatever, you know. So yeah, I think setting it up as though this is a brutal home invasion, story was disingenuous and lame. And another thing that I didn't talk about in the spoiler-free discussion was I thought that the killers, I like the masks, but I thought that they were really lame. Like, the whole point of them is to, like, mess with, and, like, they're trying to, like, torment and, like, play these games. Yeah. Right. Did not feel that at all. I did not feel the, like, predator-prey, cat-and-mouse thing that I think was what they were going for. There are plenty of other movies that do that way better. Hush is a great one. Yeah. Hush is, like, a much, much better example of this. Granted, it's only, like, a one-on-one. But those kinds of, like...
But how much tension does that movie have?
Hush?
So much.
Oh, so much, yeah.
And there's only two people in that movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can make this work. I mean, the first one does it to a degree. Like, a lot of people find that to be super tense. But that's because there's not a promised sequel when you only have 2 fucking characters.
Yeah.
Right? Or Hush, it was like, this is a trilogy and it's one deaf chick. It'd be like, where are we going with this next 2?
Right, like she's gonna die and he's gonna keep killing. But it's the same situation. Like, it's a cabin pretty much in the middle of the woods, secluded. Same exact thing. But
there's no uniqueness to make it interesting.
Right.
The thing that's what's great about Hush is that she's deaf.
Right.
And that she is at a disadvantage.
Yes.
Not only physically.
Yeah.
But with her senses as well.
Yeah,
and she uses her disadvantages to her advantage.
Right.
Which is always the great thing. Right? So it's like with this, it's just cliche after cliche.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. This is the kind of film that happens when you hire what I would assume he's got to be in his 70s, maybe 60s, 1959. So he is like 65 years old. So this is like what happens when you hire like an older director who's just living off of old cliches. They get wrapped up in a time period, like in a bygone era. And that's why older directors, so few of them make good stuff in their later years, because they just try to bring things that are old hat now. You want to bring new blood to a new franchise that you're trying to set up as a trilogy. Somebody with new ideas. Bring a Ty West.
Sure.
Look what the fuck he's doing with Pearl, X, and Maxine. I mean, think about the caliber difference between X and this.
Oh,
and that's like a trilogy.
It's not even on the same playing field, like, at all. The tension in this,
and that's an old woman,
right?
This is three able-bodied, young killers. It's fucking crazy,
I know,
dude.
I thought it was so lame, and as far as like the tension goes, one of the big problems I had was that the boyfriend has asthma. He has an inhaler, and they set it up in the very beginning when they almost crashed their car, which is also, like you were saying, the geography of that doesn't really make sense.
I didn't understand that.
But he like starts to wheeze a little bit.
Yeah.
So they draw attention to the fact that when he gets startled or when something tense happens, like he has asthma. He doesn't have another asthma like issue. Like they realize he doesn't have his inhaler on him. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, is he going to start like having problems? Yeah. But no, he just gets on a motorcycle, goes to town and gets it. And then he doesn't have another issue until he's like in the woods. Yeah. And I don't
conveniently
understand what
finds
he does.
a bottle and uses it as some kind of device. I think he I don't know what he's doing. He kind of crushes it around a bit. I thought what he was going to do is he's going to take the oxygen inside and just like press it really hard so that the airwaves would open up. I don't know. Something.
I've never seen that before, so if that is some trick for people who have asthma to like breathe through, I don't know. I've never seen that before. But
you have an inhaler, so yeah.
I do, but I don't have bad asthma. So that's the other thing, right? Is like, okay, maybe he doesn't have really bad asthma, but that's like a totally pointless thing to introduce if he doesn't. Like the whole purpose of having a character in this type of situation have asthma and then lose their inhaler is so that they can have think about Signs.
No, there's a better movie for this, and the best use of it I've ever seen in a film with an asthma inhaler, and this is In the Hand That Rocks the Cradle. When she sets her up, and it's a whole thing throughout the film, right? She plays a little cat and mouse with her. She goes around the house. She empties every one of them. Peyton takes all the shit, empties them all, and then she blacks out from her asthma. And then at the very end, she uses that weakness against Peyton by making her seem like she's having an asthma attack when she's not. That turns Peyton's back to her because she knows she's useless when she's having an asthma attack. And then as soon as she turns her back, she's like, just kidding. It's fucking fantastic. So much better.
So, and even at the very end, whenever he gets like stabbed in the lung, I guess, is where they stab him. Even then, he doesn't start wheezing until he gets like pushed over and the blood starts filling.
Blood comes out of his mouth.
I was so annoyed. Like they put so much attention on this inhaler, having him go to town and get it, showing us that he dropped it. Like, and for him to not, when he kills somebody, that was the scene that I was like, this guy sucks. He shoots the landlord.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God. And he like cries for half a second and then is fine. Like, is totally fine. And I know there are some situations in movies where characters, and even in real life, like something crazy is happening and like the adrenaline just makes them like focus on whatever. I'm not buying it with this. I think he should have had an asthma attack at least then and there and been freaking out. Like, I don't understand why the inhaler and the asthma thing was even included in this movie.
Yeah. He also shoots Baghead as he's attacking his girlfriend.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which, I don't know the distance he's standing, and maybe he's using slugs. I would doubt that heavily. But shotgun shells spread. And you're not going to be pinpoint accurate with a shotgun, especially at any distance. It immediately, as it comes out, the concentration of the pellets, they expand. The closer you are, the more damage you do to to what's in front of you. And being 5-10 feet away to try to aim accurately and not hit your girlfriend is nonsense. The fact that it's not like a hunting rifle, that's just, I don't know, that just seems like laziness to me. It's like, I found a shotgun.
Yeah.
And it's like, just make it a rifle.
100%.
There's no reason to make it a shotgun.
Aside from the fact that you get the satisfying, like, click whenever.
But he also has, like, I hate this in movies. This is a fucking cliche for me. But it's like they're going around in the woods. Yeah. They're, like, at the ready that someone could jump out at any moment. They have a fraction of a second to react to that. Mm-hmm. And then they finally find the killer. They, like, hold them hostage, hold them there. And then when they're, like, trying to show dominance, or they're trying to show that they mean business, they then cock the shotgun. Yeah. Motherfucker, that shotgun ain't cocked already? What do you mean you don't have that thing ready to go? You're really going to wait for them to jump out and be like, hold on, okay.
His line, too, when he's like, they say that the first kill's the hardest. You're my second. God. I was like, what the fuck? Like, no. What is that? That's such a dumb line to have in there. Like, he's some, like, cold-hearted killer now, and he doesn't even shoot her. Awful. There was something else, too, that I was going to say. Oh, yes. When he leaves, and he's getting the burgers and whatever, and he comes back, and she saw somebody in the house, and she's hiding in a closet, and all the lights are off. And he's like, it was the painting. Like, you're stoned, babe. Like, what's the problem? When they already have had people antagonizing them.
They've already had them come
in the middle, coming to the door. Yeah. I was like, why would he not believe her? Even though she's
that's
stoned.
That's a cliche.
Yeah, even being like, I'm a little high, but no, like, I saw somebody. That was stupid. That was so dumb. I was very upset at that. Yeah, again, very much a cliche. And also, everything with the town people, like, I'm sure that they will probably be playing a role in the next ones, like the weird, like, culty leaflets and shit that they're handing out.
If that doesn't play a role somehow in the next two, I will hate this film 10 times more.
I hated it all so much because we've done the, like, small secluded town where, like, an outsider comes in and they're like, oh, rich guy from the city. Yeah. Like, we don't like vegetarians. Like, they're giving him such a hard time. That was just all super lame. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it that there's communities that are, like, closed off from, but not, like, in America, not, like, that closed off. Like, I don't know. It just is, it's dumb. And it's like, okay, so everybody's a threat. Like, nobody's there to help you. And I feel like that's where this is going. I feel like this is going to turn into the whole town is this, like, weird cult. And that they, like, kill people that come in from outside all the time. And I just hate that. In this particular, like, setup, I hate that.
If part 2 is literally just her the whole time. Yeah. Oh, my God.
He's probably going to be in, like, a coma or something.
Him?
Yeah, if he's not dead, he's in, like, a coma.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to just be her. But I'm saying she needs to get people. That friend on the phone that's calling her. She needs to show up.
Yeah.
She needs to fly in. Her friend's in the hospital, right? So, like, the second movie ends with the characters in the hospital. Right. And so that's kind of a nod. There's the truck being pinned up against and the guy screaming, like, get out of the car, go, as, like, Baghead when the truck comes up. That's very part 2. I actually greatly prefer part 2. It's just more of fun time for me. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but some do share it with me. I do find the first one to be a tad repetitive and boring at times. I don't hate it. I like it more than this one, that's for damn sure. But, yeah, it's just, there's so many moments that feel so repetitive.
When she puts her phone down on the coffee table...
Oh, my God.
And, like, turns around because there's a knock and then notices her phone is gone.
No. It's across the house, and she doesn't even make reference. No, my God.
She had smoked a joint, but they... are making it seem like when you smoke a joint, like, you lose your mind, basically. And that's not what happens.
Like reefer madness.
Yeah. Like, you would be like, no. And especially in this situation, like, I don't care if she's smoking to, like, calm down, but she's on edge. She would still be, like, hyper vigilant. Like, I didn't put my phone over there. Like, why is it?
100,000%.
There's no way. So
she would immediately be like, there's someone in this fucking house.
Yes.
Anybody would. Dude, if I set my phone on the table and I was already paranoid and I already had people at my door multiple times.
Yeah.
And all this shit.
Yeah.
And then she goes, sets her phone down. She specifically sets it down in front of her. And then it's all behind the couch up on a bookshelf that she hasn't even touched.
Yeah.
Dude, there's no way she accepts that phone's up there like nothing. She's like, oh, there it is. And I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Now that I'm thinking about it, actually, I don't know that she smoked before that. I think she had just been having, like, a beer. She might have just had a beer.
Doesn't matter.
Either way.
Doesn't matter.
Like, she's, like, mildly inebriated, but not to the point of being so oblivious to her surroundings.
Oh, my God.
So,
no.
Yeah, that's... there's just so many, like, so many moments.
This movie should have had multiple characters.
Yeah.
The just relying on these two characters to drive a trilogy, to play really lame, cliche cat and mouse with no antagonizing. Like, there's a little, right? But it's all stuff aped from the original. It's is Tamara here at the door? And then they walk outside and they're standing out in the yard and he runs at them and they run off and then they come back. This is all the same shit from the first one. It's just done not as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't understand. I don't understand that stuff. And I just, when I think about what could have been here and what we get, because like you were saying with the asthma inhaler, why not when he's strapped to the chair? There's no torture or anything where this is what they get off on.
Right.
Right? So like, why not like put a freaking knife to his girlfriend's throat, after they have their cute little, oh, will you marry me?
My God.
It's like only in that kind of moment would you now all of a sudden you're interested in marrying her. Fuck off.
Well, and also like, let's say you did survive and you're like, that's our engagement. Yeah. Like we were held at, put a knife up to the girlfriend
until he has an asthma
attack.
Exactly,
and then be like, here's your inhaler.
Yeah, and then just like keep spraying it in front of him as he's like trying to get it.
Totally. That
right there would add so much tension to the film.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also particularly hated her fuck you moment at the end.
Yeah.
So not like, they're trying to kind of set up this final girl energy with her. Yeah. Not buying it at all. At all.
No. She's not defiant enough.
Not at all.
Yeah.
She's not resourceful enough. There's none of that either. Like, I know that this is not something that happens all the time, but it's like, okay, like, if you're going to have a character that's going to be the survivor
of a trilogy,
there needs to be some, like, ingenuity that they have in this situation.
I thought we were going to set up so much more interesting things with the killers. Introduce new elements. Introduce new characters. It's just like, we put it in a different area. And instead of this, we did that. Like, we changed the famous line, why are you doing this to us? And, in the original, which is haunting. And it's like one of the more chilling lines in horror, because you were home. It's a great fucking line. And this one, it's like, because you were here. And it's like, why change the line to be inferior? It's like every choice in this movie is just an inferior choice.
Well, and the other thing about that, too, is that, so in the original, they are at their home. And it is random.
Yes.
In this, they've already set up that the town is, like, everyone's antagonistic to them.
Yeah, they're like purposely led there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't feel random. It feels very planned. And like the horror from the first one of it being so random, like that's what's scary about it, is like it could happen to anybody. Like they're literally just like, you're here, like you're home, right? Yeah. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all in this.
You know what also doesn't work, and it might come into the second and third, but I hate to keep pushing it off on that. But the opening, what is that? I know we usually get cold openings, but it doesn't set up anything. It doesn't, all it does is it just reminds us, like, yeah, the strangers kill people. We know that. We've already seen 2 other movies where they hunt people, and there's nothing interesting about the opening. No, it's literally just a guy running in the woods, he trips over something, and then they axe him in the face as it pans past a tree, and then it's like, there's violence in America, blah. It's like, right, and then that's your opening, and then he's shown up on a,
which again is just showing that they're in an unsafe place.
Right, but it's,
so it's like, you know what I mean?
We already know that from what this is.
I know. That's why it's so dumb, because, like, in order for this to have worked with, like, the tension, they need to have thought that they were in, like, a really safe community. It should have been like, this is a small, quaint town, mom and pop stores, everybody here is super sweet, the kids are really friendly, like, wow, they're so nice, like, our car can't start, like, they're gonna help us out, they even got us a place to stay, like, that's so nice of everybody. And then all of a sudden they have killers at their house. At least then it's like they thought that they were safe, even though the viewer is watching it being like, I know you guys aren't safe, but, like, having it this way is just, it's like, how would they, like, they do know, but they don't, like, react the way that they probably should be. This is dumb. This is a really awful movie. I'm glad it's only an hour and a half, but that felt like I don't know, 2 hours. It felt too long for sure.
Hey, man, this thing's like 4.5 hours altogether. So
that's so crazy.
Good luck. I mean, I don't know. Maybe with the second one we'll move on from this story. I don't have a lot of faith since it's the same director.
Yeah.
But I'm at least hopeful the dude's gone, because he's easily my least favorite part.
Yes, yeah.
I think that the girl can have something going on here in the second one potentially, but she's gonna need new motivation, which she has, right? But she's gonna need new people. She's gonna have to uncover the mystery. I'm assuming that she's going to go back to the diner. She's going to start looking into everybody, figure out why she was taken there to this Airbnb. You know, the Airbnb guy seemed to have come to fix the refrigerator, so I would assume it's not him or that he's in on it, because I don't think that would make much sense, but it just seemed also convenient that they knew of one Airbnb that just so happened to be open. They rented it like in a minute. They took them over and it was already, they had the keys. They didn't even have to meet the guy. I don't know. All that's, I don't really care. That's like nitpicky. This is what I'm talking about. That's how you know you're watching a film you don't like. When things that typically you're just like accept in other films. Yeah. Because there's plenty of that kind of shit. Yeah, Halloween is filled with cliches, and I don't care because I'm so into the atmosphere. I'm so into everything.
Yeah, suspend disbelief for films that you are enjoying, because you can enjoy films based on, like, atmosphere and vibe and all that, and they can have cliches. Like, the cliches themselves aren't the bad thing, but this movie fails on so many levels, so we're nitpicky.
I don't think I have any more to say. I
don't think so either.
There's scenes, but I don't really care.
I think we talked about all the major ones.
Yeah, there's nothing worth discussing here. Like, it's just, I hate to keep using the same word, but it's just cliche after cliche. Blood dripping from the ceiling, and they slowly, like, realize, and then they slowly look up, like, it's just,
that's the
how
other
many
thing.
times
that's
can
the
we use
thing.
the same setups
Her
in movies?
Being a vegetarian is also a point that's hammered home, so you're assuming usually when people are vegetarians,
they're like forced
they
to eat
love
meat,
animals.
Or like, kill an animal.
So it's like, okay, she sees the dead bird, but they could have also tormented her more with that, like you said, forcing her to eat meat,
or if they brought an animal with
bringing
them.
more doing something like that where she's having this reaction to it, but that's again not really used.
There's a movie called Captivity with Elizabeth. What's her fucking name from? It doesn't matter. Cuthbert. She is abducted and she is taken with her dog, and it's either her or the dog, right? And she has to, like, it's like has a shotgun like strapped to it, and it's brutal, man.
No.
And that whole scene, the way it plays out, and the way that, like, he antagonizes her after she kills the dog, it's fucking brutal. And, like, setting up stuff like that in a movie like this, it would upset your audience. It would piss them off. But at least it would add something. At least it would add something to like her being a vegetarian and the antagonization of the... Is antagonization a word? That doesn't sound right. The antagonizing nature of these characters would be so much more fleshed out. You'd want them dead, and you'd be like, motherfuckers, you like turn into John Wick. I just... There's nothing. There's just... This film offers nothing. I don't care. Like, because I don't care about the relationship, because I don't care about her all that much. Like, seeing her get her revenge... Seeing her come out of her coma and she's going to be like, oh my God, we're going to get married. I got to kill. It's like, I don't care.
Don't care, yeah.
So, we'll see it. Boo. It comes out in like 6 months. We'll be there because we're going to do it for the channel and we'll watch all three.
For you guys.
We're going to watch all three.
If it was up to me, we wouldn't watch them.
I would, eventually, just because
maybe.
I'm just that guy. And we get movies for free, kind of.
Sometimes.
Yeah, so.
Ugh.
I don't know. What did you guys think? For those of you who saw it, or for those of you who just came over here because you're like, fuck it, I'm not even going to see it. I'll just see what they have to say. Maybe they could talk me into it. Maybe that's kind of stuff that I'll be like, oh no, that doesn't sound too bad. Yeah. If you saw the first one and you loved it, this is an inferior copy that does nothing to make you care about another one. And that's that. So I'd rather not waste any more time and have a night with my wife. So that's that. We'll see you in the next one. I Saw the TV Glow tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Bye. Bye.